Hello, my name is Matthew, and I've been working my way through the Norton anthology of English literature, and I read The Death of Arthur by Sir Thomas Malory. The Middle English is Morte, Darthur, and this is the story of King Arthur's last fateful battle. And what I found most interesting was the amount of realism that has been introduced into this story. So it's set in the world of Arthurian legend. It has King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table, and there's chivalry and the sword Excalibur and the Lady of the Lake. It has all of those things, but there are additional details that ground the story closer to reality and details that make these larger than life figures feel more human. So at the beginning of the story, King Arthur has a prophetic, ominous, nightmarish dream warning him of the risks and dangers ahead. And instead of shooting right out of bed or going right back to sleep, instead King Arthur tosses and turns, unable to awaken or go back to sleep. When the battle finally happens, it's not sparked off with knights charging into war. Instead, it was by accident. One of the knights mistakenly pulls his sword out. When the fight begins, there are real injuries. When King Arthur and the enemy finally have their final battle, they come to blows, and each fatally wounds the other. Neither just drop dead. King Arthur didn't come out unscathed. Um, he needs to be helped up. King Arthur needs to be helped up by other injured knights. One of the knights, while he's heaving up King Arthur, has his guts spill out from an earlier injury. Um, the sword Excalibur, King Arthur wants to have thrown in the lake, and one of the knights who is supposed to do this um, tries to trick King Arthur because he wants to save it instead of just discarding it and losing it in the lake because it's valuable. And so there's details like that take it just completely from what could be like Greek mythology or earlier things like Beowulf, and set it closer into the real world, even though these are fabulous, fantastic tales. Um, and as far as that world goes, the introduction had a really interesting, um, well-worded uh, point, and it's something that I suppose that I knew, but hadn't really thought about or put too much attention to. And I'll read just a portion. Um, the ideal was invented and given a local habitation in the brilliantly imaginative and idealistic 12th century. History had, of course, never witnessed such knights, such ladies, nor such a landscape as that on which their adventures took place. And when chivalry was first invented, it was already placed in the past. Man's urge to devise an idealized past seems to be recurrent, for the Camelot of Arthur has its counterpart in the Sherwood Forest of Robin Hood and in the American West. And it's really interesting to me that recurrence comes straight into our present day. It seems that every generation takes comfort in a past that never existed, uh, which I don't know, really kind of spoke to me at the moment. And the last thing I'll say is that I'm glad that the Norton anthology has these selected passages, so reading through it does feel like a sampler. Um, I didn't I didn't enjoy this story. I found the language to be wooden. Um, Apparently, this was about as exciting as it got at the time. The other prose stylist, according to the introduction, um, would have been Chaucer, who's more famous now for his poetry. And there apparently were hurdles getting tales and fiction um, kind of placed in prose to that learning curve of a new genre or format. And it still feels like it's on a rocky road. I'm glad that I read it, and kind of feel that I don't have too much interest in pursuing this particular avenue. Um, though, of course, it might just be that I need more time to get immersed into this world, but um, I know that that's not going to happen, so I'm glad that I read it, and um, there were interesting aspects in the story as far as the history of English language or literature, I suppose, but not enough to hold my attention or keep my interest. Um, so I'll end it there. If you've read this, if you've read anything by Sir Thomas Malory, or if you have any other recommendations for the world of Arthurian legend, I'd be interested to know. But please leave a comment if you would like, and thank you for watching.